Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. This is your host, Stedman Fry, along with my co host, Amanda Goodman Berry and Flex McGee, with Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, your newest resource for news updates and information on the state of the union drive and how you can get involved. Today, we'll be bringing you interviews, stories from workers just like you and us who want to share happenings as they see them. We'll also be debunking the falsehoods and misconceptions about the union and giving you the tools to do the same. On today's episode, entitled The Revolving Door Policy, we'll be looking at Delta's open door policy and its effectiveness on us as employees. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post or go live. Thank you. Hello. I'm your host, Stedman Fry. Again, joined by my co-hosts, Amanda Goodman Berry and Flex McGee. Pass it over to Amanda to introduce herself.
All right, I'm Amanda Goodman Berry, Minneapolis Ramp, 26 years, and I'll pass it over to Flex McGee. Hello, Martinez.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Last Monday of 2024, man, we're here, give you some information, tapping in, doing everything we got to do. I'm Flex McGee, 24 years, Delta Airlines, man, and I'm excited to be here as always, man. Thank you guys for always allowing me to be a part of what we got going on.
Absolutely.
And I'm Stedman Fry in Detroit, 18-year Ramp employee, and let's get into it. So today, the show is going to be about the open door policy with Delta Airlines. And I think, Amanda, you wanted to read something or go over something to kind of set the, set the scene for us for our discussion today.
Absolutely. So thanks you guys for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be here on holidays. If you are on your day off, we thank you. But there was two things that I've read in Delta itself, and it was on leadership thoughts in the way we fly. So I'm going to start out with the leadership thoughts that I thought was very important for workers to know and also for us to know. Under their leadership expectations, two of the things that stood out the most to me was that a leader should always follow through on your commitment. Not doing so is an ultimate credibility buster. Be available and visible in the workplace. Maintain an open door. Leadership is a contact sport. And in the way we fly, what stood out to me, it was an article that they wrote in The Way We Fly. We do not tolerate retaliation. Delta does not tolerate retaliation of any kind. Employees are protected from retaliation when raising concerns of making reports in good faith. As a part of a just culture, we promise one another fairness and protection when employees choose to do the right thing and speak up. So I said that because this leans into that open door policy when an employee decides they want to go in and talk to our leadership, and we need to know that Delta in itself has said in the way we fly that we do not retaliate if you come and voice those concerns. So I'll pass it over to Flex because he had a really good framework of how he framed that today earlier.
Am I muted still? Okay, there I am. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get into this about how having a voice and having a platform for your voice to be heard isn't necessarily the same thing. Like, yes, you can have at Delta, we have an open door policy where you can go in, but you don't always have an open door policy that leads to correction of the necessarily of the issues that we have. And I think that's one of the biggest things. One of our greatest concerns as employees is being able to correct issues that we can see are issues before they become issues, if that makes sense to everybody. I think there has to be a place to where I'm gonna kind of jump ahead a little bit, but like, I talk to employees all the time where they always say, I don't need anybody to speak for me with a union. I can speak for myself. And I understand that. And I really do respect that. But I think the thing that needs to be addressed here is what happens when you speak and there's nobody there to actually listen to what you're saying. And I think that's what unions are here to do, is to hold everybody accountable to not only the issues that we come across, but the things that we're saying are issues. So these are some of the things that we want to be able to get into today and speak about and have good dialogue about. If you're a person who doesn't believe in unions and you don't believe that this is true, I'd like you to say something in the comments. If you're a person who believes in unions and you understand what we're talking about, I want you to be able to say something in the comments. And I want to be able to have a great dialogue today about what it is exactly the open door policy means to Delta employees. Fry, you got it.
Yeah, and I want to kind of take up where you left off. I think in the vein of understanding there's a difference in having the ability to speak and then having a platform to be heard. A lot of times you can hear that, hey, you have an open door policy, you can come and have a conversation. But I can speak for myself and in certain situations where I've had to voice concerns about staffing or equipment or things like that, where I said what I had to say, but it didn't have a meaningful impact on the outcome of my job on a day-to-day basis. And so it essentially amounts to, yelling in the wind or speaking to a brick wall. You know what I'm saying? Where you have the ability to say something. And you also, when you have concerns that you want to raise, you can say things, but you understand that to a point, it isn't going to matter, because either it isn't going to change in a way that you would like, right? In a way that is an acknowledgement of what I'm saying and how that impacts the operation, or it's not going to change, and there will be, even though there shouldn't be, there will be some hard feelings about it because I've decided to press the issue, speaking for myself. And so we need to kind of contextualize this, I think, to show or to discuss how this would be different under a union structure. How would having a union ensure that we would have this opportunity to voice our concerns, have the platform to speak, and have the opportunity for what we say to have a meaningful impact on the outcome of what we do on a day-to-day basis? And if one of my co-panelists would like to kind of expand on that idea, I'll be quiet. But I think that's really important for us to try to explain, as much as we would like to all think that we can stand on our own and we can speak up for ourselves. How many of the policies that have changed over the course of the last year to 5 years, year to 6 years, have we all, as a work group, as an employee group, agreed on or asked for or pushed for, and they've come to pass? And how many of those have just happened as a result of it being the most profitable option essentially for the company, or the easiest option for management or whoever is the decision makers ultimately at the company. If anybody wants to kind of expand, in the union. Oh, Amanda, let me see. There you go.
I'll add just one quick thing, and I know Flex can take this over because we've talked about this many times. But one way the union can help in that is that you would have a safety committee, and Delta couldn't just just make all these different changes, but without talking to the union. So when the workers have a problem, they can go in and talk to the union, and then the union can sit down and talk to Delta. So having that safety, hey Pat, having that safety, committee on with the union could also change the dynamic of our everyday lives at the jobs, like the bad equipment, like the staffing, like our benefits, like the things that are just going like by the wayside. But I'll pass it over to Flex because he really have a greater sense of knowledge on that. But I just wanted to be able to just narrow it down to having a safety committee under a union will help keep the things that Delta practice safer. What would you like to say on that? Either one of you. But I think Flex would be good at it. Hi, Amy.
So I'm gonna jump in here in this because this definitely has a bunch of different angles. And because Amanda, my sister, brought up safety, I want to bring up safety. A lot of times we voice our safety concerns and they go completely unaddressed in those airlines. And I'm not saying they're not heard by our immediate supervisor, the person that you have to deal with, regardless if you're unionized or not, but they're not heard by the people who actually make decisions on what it is that we need to have change in. Our immediate supervisors are 99% of the time going to agree with us on certain things that are happening because they're actually in the field with us. And as like you said, part of their commitment to safety is to kind of be like hands-on and boots on the ground. So they understand it. But translating that message to the next level or the level beyond that, or the people who can actually make change, like if we're fighting over things like dollies / transporters, to the person who actually gets dollies / transporters, they don't understand why we got 700 transporters and 340 of them are always have something on them. So we don't have what we need to actually get the job done. So it's the disconnect from the upper management to what it is we do every day. There's also a concern when we speak of safety about the expectation of what it is that you want us to do and meet metrics via the equipment that we either have or the staffing that we have. Like these are all things that unions help with. Unions help balance that to make sure that people understand that Delta has an accountability, or any company has an accountability aspect to everything that is going on as well. One of the main things that I always speak about, regardless of what the topic is the accountability. Like everything can't be the employee's fault. And at Delta Airlines currently, regardless if you're for or against the union, that it's always what could you have done differently. And that's a problem. That is what we're here to adjust. That is where we're here to correct. That is here what we're actually fighting against. We're fighting against us telling you what the problems are, you ignoring what the problems are, and then trying to tell us what we can do differently to make sure that we not have a problem. I know currently in Atlanta, we can put cameras in tugs to see if you bump something, there's a 360 camera on everything that's going on, but they're not actually addressing the fact that, okay, I'm coming from F concourse and you're on me about the me not making it from F back over to B in time to swipe to say that I'm here. Like these are the things that we're up against. And this is what unions kind of balancing out company accountability versus employee accountability. And that's what like this whole conversation to me kind of revolves around. Yes, there is an open door policy. I can go tell my supervisor anything that I want. My supervisor, 99% of the time, he agrees with me. He doesn't make the decision on what we do every day. And that's a problem. It's the same way that the people, when we have problems with our health insurance, the person that I can talk to every day immediately, he probably feels the same way about it. He feels like my supervisor probably feels like his insurance is too high as well, or it doesn't cover enough. But he's not the person who makes the decision on that. So what we want is direct relationships with people who actually make decisions about our everyday lives, our everyday benefits, and the things that we have going on every day. The people who can make our quality of life at work better are the people we need direct relationship with. Whether I'm union or not, my direct supervisor will always be my direct supervisor. He's only going to have 5%, 6% more than what I have as far as what I'm dealing with. So whatever I negotiate, he's going to benefit from too, because they're going to give him better than me. So these are the things that we want to be able to come on the pod today and discuss. And we really want your input and your thoughts and how you feel about what's going on. I can't see how many people are in the chat today, but I would love to be able to see your opinions today, to be able to talk about why it's important for us to unionize.
So we got about 15 people so far, so that's pretty good. But yeah, like some feedback, people just to kind of share their opinions. But I think, hitting on that again, I kind of always try to build off of the good feedback and the good opinions I've already got. But like you said, it's almost it's a contradiction in directives, because you're told to do one thing and you're told to follow it by the letter, right? And when you put those implements into practice, or you implement those practices, I'll say, you can find that they don't really bear out, or like the new policy we have with inbounding planes. Who made the decision that was the safest way for us to deal with that process, right? Where, you look at one side of the aircraft is no longer chalked, and then you have the person on that side doing air or whatever. And when you just look at that process, you say, well, this person who you have doing this is also the person who's getting inside the plane. So you're holding up the downloading process, having this happen this way. Who did you consult on the ramp to help you come up with this procedure? And the answer is nobody. So as much as, we talk about open door policy as a company ideal, what we continually see, whether it be the surveys or whether it just be any random policy change, you cannot ever find the feedback to justify the changes that are being made. And when you go and talk to a manager, because one of the things I always say is, like, for example, we have, I don't think it's 50 in Detroit, but it's approximately 50% of our workforce is part-time now. And so you say, well, how did all these lines get cut? How did all these full-time 40-hour lines get cut? Well, such and such, the new hires filled out the surveys, and so we accommodated them via the surveys. And so my thought is, okay, so let's say we all filled out the survey and said we wanted a $10 raise. Would that work? And I think we can all safely say the answer is no. So how do we sit here and try to accept, or how do you expect us to accept that, you have cut lines or cut full-time lines so significantly due to surveys from new hires, when you've got people with 20, 30, 40 years who this is their full-time career. They're not using this as a means to travel or to set up something else outside of Delta, who are telling you we need this to be accommodating to us in these specific ways, and they're not being met. So it's I don't want to say it's a slap in the face, but it's obviously, it's blatantly untrue, right? It's blatantly untrue as it pertains to the direct effect that it has on all of us employees who have been here and how we want, the operation to run. Flex.
I think it's the lack of transparency that is really killing us. You know what I'm saying? Those of us who have committed to being at Delta full time or as a career, or however you look at it, regardless of what position you're in, it's just a lack of transparency. You can't come up and say, per the survey, this is what people felt. Because you can take a survey from people on the ramp, people on the gates, people in res, and that's like the survey. I'm not saying this survey doesn't account for all of the people that you're going to make the adjustments to, but it's not the same for everybody. Like, so, I don't want to make it seem like that this survey information isn't accurate. I'm just saying that I know for a fact, for the things that they've changed in Atlanta, it's not. Like nobody, like you don't have a bunch of people that want to work 20-hour shifts. You don't have to want to, you don't have a bunch of people who want to work more time for less money because they can't get full time. You don't have people in Tampa who have to have 20 something years to get a Tuesday, Wednesday off on day shift. You don't have these things. These are things that I hear about across the system, like weekly, that we all understand that it's like, this is cost saving stuff. You don't have people who are saying, yeah, hey, you know what? It's okay to give us UMR over a subsidiary of United Healthcare and they don't cover everything. And you're still going to charge us these ridiculous amounts. That people aren't saying that. You know what I'm saying? That it would be hard pressed for me to prove that to me and for me to actually believe that. Because at the end of the day, most people want the same thing. They just want to come. What do they say? I always say a fair day's wage for honest day work, or however the saying goes. And people respect that. And what this is doing at this current situation is taking advantage of people who are, look, I'll come and work. It's not an issue. Just give me the fair day's pay. Because and fair day's pay does not just mean you paying us at a comparable rate of other airlines that are unionized. It means that everything, the entire package means something. It doesn't mean that you can say, hey, well, on February 14th, you get more profit sharing than everybody else, because that doesn't mean anything if I've struggled for 364 days. That's an issue. And that's what Delta Workers Unite is here to stand up against. The issues for the everyday worker, who people like ourselves who understand that, look, it's not about catching up on February 14th. It's about being compensated for everything that we did, on top of being compensated for everything that we did, in my opinion. But I'll yield that to somebody else.
Am I muted, Stedman? So Pat just put a really good comment in there, where a few years ago, the holidays we was occur that we would get every year, the 56 hour. Instead, now we have to work towards those 56 hours, and they claim they did it because of the survey. So because of the reaction that they got from all the people that was in numbers, I think they were forced to change that holiday and give those holidays back to us. But that goes to show you that Delta still can do what they want to do whenever they want to do it. But I want to give some oxygen back to what Flex was also saying too, which goes back to what I read at first: be available, be visible in the workplace, maintain an open door policy. Leadership is a contact sport. So a lot of people, I get a lot of people, I would call my cart the open door. I get a lot of people that come in my cart that are so afraid to just go and express their concerns, that are so afraid. And when they do go and express those concerns, they get pushed away with, well, we'll get back to you, but they never get back to them. So with the union, they will be forced to get back to these workers. So this is the open door that we're trying to break, that 1-on-1 or that 3-on-5. When you go in there with a real valid concern, there's no one there to help you push this here. There's no one there to help you get a solid answer from the company. So I just think that talking to the workers right now and letting them know that, it's okay to go and express yourself, because if you don't talk about it, but I understand the fear of going and talking to leadership, because it can be turned on you. It can be turned in many different ways. And you're just going in there, as they say, with your totally honesty to try to seek help for the issues that you have. So how can we talk to the workers to get them to, come out of that fear base of going into that open door and talk to your direct OSM, talk to your direct GM, talk to your direct DM, whomever it may be, because it's not as welcoming as they proclaim it to be. So what advice would you guys have also to talk to the workers? Because this is really about empowering the workers to use that open door to voice those opinions about safety. If you almost got hit today, you should be able to go in and voice that opinion and something be done about that, instead of saying, we'll look into it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the big issues that we could have people to know as a resource. I talked about um, I talked about last show was just getting a notebook. So when you go in and you find yourself bringing up issues, safety issues, work related issues that you feel like could be improved upon or could be addressed, you go, you have your notebook when you go and speak to your supervisor, your manager, and just take a document of each of those interactions and keep a record of how those interactions bear out. The same way we have journals, you have your own journal. I talked to manager XYZ and I explained to them this happened on this day at this time. And you keep track of it. What has happened? And as you find that, the issues that you are bringing up are stagnating, follow up the chain of custody until you get to somebody, I guess even up to HR until you get to somebody who actually addresses the issues you're bringing up. Um, because, this is ultimately your only recourse, right? I have had issues where, I have almost been hit and I've had to report people. And so as you find that there are situations where you need, to address these things, if you are, worried about some type of blowback or pushback, make sure you have your own record keeping in order. And you have to kind of cover yourself. This is the thing about even what we're doing here on this podcast. When you make yourself a target, you have to make sure you're clean. You have to make sure that you're following the rules, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you're on time, that you're fulfilling your obligations as an employee, because now you're going to be open to extra scrutiny. And unfortunately, that is how it is, irrespective of whatever the rule or the policy is supposed to be. And so you've got to, when you want to take a step in the right direction, to stand up for what is right or what is just for all workers, because you have to look at yourself as like a symbol or a stand-in for every Delta Airlines ramp employee. When you go out and you press for an improvement in your work conditions, this is the kind of thing that you do. This is the kind of attention that you get when you do these kinds of things. You get extra scrutiny, and so that's what it is. But one of the things that I wanted to hit, and Amanda and Flex, you both talked about it, with transparency. And I think, this is why I wanted to title this episode The Revolving Door, because like a revolving door, you go in, you go out, and nothing changes. You just go, if you push a revolving door and you never leave, you'll just keep going around in a circle. And so that's what happens when you go and you try to voice your opinions without the transparency that's necessary for a relationship of this kind to be really successful and meaningful. You feel like you're just going around in circles, continuing to repeat the same grievances over and over again. We don't have enough people. This flight is too close to that flight, and they put me on another flight. And so, I'd like to kind of get you all to kind of, give me, based on what I said and how that fits into what you both have said, kind of bring it home for the audience and put it in a maybe a nice package for people to take this information and apply this at work, to use this to share with their coworkers, to help to motivate them in the union drive so that we can have a successful drive this time around.
Go ahead, Flex.
Thank you, AB. So I guess what I would like to say is, like, people have to remember that standing on the right side of right is always the thing to do. Like that is where we belong. That is where justice is going to be found. Like, these are the things that we fight for, not just every day at work, but every day as Americans. Just being on the right side of right, of being right. And even though that does look different for different people at different times, I definitely respect that aspect too. We definitely have to make sure that we are respected and valued. But you can't ask people to value you if you don't necessarily know your own value. Like you're not just somebody who you're not just a unskilled laborer because at the end of the day, even if they categorize you as that, it takes a lot of training to do what we do every day. And that's why they're always on you. They won't let you swap trade. They won't let you if your stuff's not done. It's a reason for that. Your value lies in actually what it is that you know to do, know how to do, and you do every day. And those are things that we have to ultimately rely on when we start talking about the value of what we do every day. Um, I would just really, yes, union strong, union strong. I would just like to remind people that even though people don't, you're not going to get a bunch of glory in this. But every time somebody lands and they pick their bag up, man, that was us. You know what I'm saying? Every time we got the numbers right on a plane, that was us. Every time we did everything we were supposed to do, that's us. So don't let anybody devalue you because they say that they can teach anybody to do your job. Because the truth of the matter is, everybody applies for this job and everybody doesn't stick around. That's really the truth. The real root of all of what it is that we have going on as ramp employees is everybody don't make it. Everybody can't work in 30 below 30, excuse me, below 30-degree weather. Everybody's not wanting to work in it's 100 degrees. Everybody doesn't want to stack bags in that little 6 or 4 foot bit. Everybody doesn't want to do that, but you do, and you have, and that adds value to what like makes money for Delta Airlines. So always remember that the things that we do add value, and that you should be compensated for your value, and that what your opinion matters, and the things that you, to be honest with you, most of y'all know more than your directors and your supervisors and your managers. You know more about the operation than any of them, even though they make more money. But you know more about what happens on a day-to-day basis, the flights and how this works. And you have to remind yourself and remember that what you have to say adds value. And don't let anybody tell you anything different. That's really the biggest thing that I have to say about all of this. And Delta is accountable for the things, the situations they put us in. Remember that. The open door policy, it would be a great thing if you could walk in and people address your issues. But tell me whether you're pro-union or non-union, if you walked into doors and told people what's going on and your issues went unaddressed. How many things do you see around you every day that you know we've said something about and nobody's done anything about it? You know why? Because it's not a bottom line issue for them. Nobody's gonna die. Somebody's gonna get even if you get hurt at work, sometimes it feels like it doesn't even matter. I know in Atlanta we have issues with our landside bag room, and they know it's an issue, but shutting down landside bag room is not. It's going to cost money, and we have to remind ourselves and remember those things and do the things that they say they are. There isn't supposed to be retaliation, but we all know how that works. Hey, man, you said, remember when I gave you that day off? We all been through it. There's nobody in this situation that hasn't been through a situation where retaliation hasn't happened in some form. And retaliation can be as simple as a reminder of remember the time that I let you go off for your mom's birthday. That's all the same stuff, bro. These aren't things for things. That's retaliation for you saying that we shouldn't be doing something. Remember that and keep moving forward and keep being steadfast on the things that really matter for your everyday life, because that's what's ultimately important. Let's unionize and hold Delta accountable for its responsibilities in making sure that our job is safe and productive. You got it, man.
Okay, I know we're going into a wrap up, but I just want to let all the people that are listening and all the people that will hear this going forward. It is not just the three of us that you see. There is so many people out here working to try to get us unionized. We have so many people out here just giving up our time. We're not getting paid to do this here. We're not getting anything but hard times. And sometimes it's like you on an island by yourself fighting. But it's so many people involved in this. And I don't want you guys to get the idea because you see us three consistently on this podcast. but there is Minneapolis, there's Detroit, there's committees, there's people all throughout the system that is working hard to unionize Delta Airlines, and that is working hard to build a better life for you. Sometimes the life that maybe you can't even see. So I just want to speak to the people. What we're fighting for is to help the workers have a future, have a career. We used to have a career, and that's what we're fighting for. I may not live to see it, but I hope that I get to live, you guys get to see pensions, benefits, healthcare, all those things we're fighting for. But I just wanted to say thank you to all the Delta Workers Unite that are working in this drive right now, alongside the three of us, to make it a better way at Delta, to make it a better job, to make it a better everything. So I just want to thank you guys, and thank you so much for taking time out of this holiday. I hope you guys are having a great holiday with your family and your friends and enjoying your time, because time is something we will not get back. And this is why we're working so hard, because we're against time, but we're going to keep fighting. And we want you to come on this fight with us. We, once again, as we always say, the more the merrier. Come to your local committee and ask how to get involved. Come, and if you don't want to get involved, ask for an A card. Ask how to get an A card signed. But come and be a part of this. Is a movement. This is history. And we're going to say that to the end. This will be a historic moment. And I thank you guys. Thank you for always tuning in with us. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll try to follow that just to close us out. But yeah, as we approach the new year 2025, we hope that we can continue to motivate all of us, including ourselves, to push forward towards a union. Right? I was just thinking as Flex and Amanda were talking, that through this drive and through having a union, we can be the mirror, right, held up to the company. We can be the accountability to make them who they say they are, right? So when they say they have an open door policy, when they say, whatever they say about safety and about any of those things, we can be that conscience that holds them accountable through our action and hard work. We can make, as Amanda said, this a career again. As Flex said, we can make this a place where your voice can really be heard. Like I said, as we approach the 2025 year, we hope that this can serve as motivation until we see you all next week. Let me get into my closing. I like to just keep it consistent. But today's episode, give me 1 second. This is a working class podcast made by working people like you. You can go, Flex.
Am I muted? Okay. I just want to remind people before we get out of here too, man. Thank you for tuning in, number one. Thank you for following and sharing and doing all that. But listen, if there's any topics that's happening in your city, please reach out to us. Leave the message in the comments. Reach out to us on Facebook, Delta Workers Unite on the group on Facebook. Reach out to us on Delta Workers Unite. Our Voice, I believe it is. I think that's actually the Facebook. Delta Workers Unite on Instagram. Things that are going on in your city. It's not just your city that is happening. Don't feel alone. You're not in this by yourself. You're not the only person who sees these things. All of us are going through the same drama and trauma. Please reach out if you have topics for us to discuss. If you want to be on the podcast and you have things that you want to say about what's going on in your city, please reach out, man, because this is not just a Fry, Flex, and Amanda thing. This is a Delta workers thing. And I want to say that not just for people who are on the ramp, tower, and cargo. If you're a flight attendant who has a story to tell, if you are a tech ops person who has a story to tell, if you're a mechanic that has a story to tell, please use our platform to come and tell your story. Reach out to us and let us be able to tell our story. It's not just one person's story. It's everybody's story, man. And I just wanted to thank you again. I love y'all. And anything we can do to help, man, that's what we're here for. Let's lean on each other as we move forward, because we got this. Man. We can do whatever we put our minds to, minds and action. We just can't think and talk about it. We got to work towards it.
So
Peace.
we got one question. We got one question in the chat. It says, "What can we do to support Delta workers?" And this is from a Georgia Starbucks union member, Amanda Rivera. So what can they do? What can people do to support Delta workers? Amanda?
So Amanda, hi Amanda. So we do phone banking, door knocking, leaf lifting. There's numerous of things you can help us out with. Even if you got a team of people, we could use people like coming up and when we have rallies, people to come out and support. But the most important thing we need right now is people just getting the word out, helping us leaflet, helping us phone bank, helping us go pick up cars. If we have to run errands and go pick up those cars from those workers that say, hey, I can sign, but I need you to come to me. Just helping us on the front line, getting to the workers and getting the message out. That would be some of the most important things that we need right now to move this forward and to get to an election ASAP.
So
Flex.
you can Flex. You can go.
And just to add in, man, not to always butt in, but hey, and invite us to your movements as well, because we want to be able to support you in the same functions and ways that you can support us. So us standing side by side, it makes everything better, man. It shows workers of all walks of nature being a part of wanting fairness and respecting their workplace. So Miss Amanda Rivera, I believe your name was. If you need us to pull up on you somewhere and we can pull up on you somewhere, we will definitely make our best efforts to make that happen. And thank you for tuning in.
And so we got absolutely, but and so we also, you can always leave a comment or email us. Our email is on our YouTube page. It's a way to get in contact with us, and we can, kind of organize next steps. To keep in contact. Also, for any of the other listeners, if you want to come on the podcast to kind of give a bit of your story, to talk a bit about your experience or a topic that you think is relevant from your perspective as a Delta Airlines employee, wherever you may be in the system, to help with the union drive, you can leave a comment or send an email. It's on our YouTube page. Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast on YouTube. And with that, I will read the closing. So thanks for tuning in with us. If you have questions that were not answered, or maybe a specific topic you'd like to have addressed, leave us a comment or an email and we'll get back to you. Also, all available links to information and materials are posted in the description. Remember, this podcast is powered by working people just like you in solidarity. Peace.